Coming up tonight on Newswatch 16, a local pastor plans to travel to Iraq to help ISIS refugees.
And doctors wait anxiously to see if a blood transfusion can save the life of a Texas Ebola patient.
All that and more on Newswatch 16 tonight.
Covering Ithaca and all of Tompkins County. Live on ICTV, Newswatch 16 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Noreyana Fernando.
And I'm Michael Schwartz. We thank you for joining us tonight. We begin tonight with a lawsuit against the city of Ithaca after the accidental death of a Cornell alum. 32-year-old Alan Young Bryan was found dead in the Cascadilla Gorge Trail nearly 2 years ago. However, now his mother is bringing a civil lawsuit against the city, who is the owner of the path, as well as Cornell University, who manages the Gorge Trail. A year after graduating Cornell, Young Bryan returned with his wife to Ithaca in 2012. According to reports, after being separated from his partner one night, he wandered on the trail and wasn't seen again until the morning of December 5th. That year when police found his body. An investigation claims that he fell 80 feet into the gorge. The mother's lawyer said that she is suing to make sure the path is safe and to prevent further incidents like this one from happening again. The Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee has canceled television advertising for Democrat Martha Robertson. The Tompkins County legislator is challenging incumbent Republican Tom Reed for New York's 23rd Congressional District. The committee had planned to spend over $400,000 on the television ads for Robertson, but says the planned funding will now be redirected to areas where the Democratic Party has a better chance of winning.
A local pastor is traveling to Iraq next month to help refugees fleeing the militant group ISIS. Newswatch 16's Julia Manchester has more.
Is to join to one as a disciple, to cleave steadfastly to one, to conform wholly to his example.
When Ithaca pastor Mike Foster isn't preaching or working at the rescue mission downtown, he is raising money to travel to northern Iraq.
I think that God has given me an incredible gift to go towards what most people run away from.
While in Iraq, he will help refugees fleeing the Islamic militant group known as ISIS.
There's 1.8 million refugees from ISIS that have flooded into Kurdistan, and people are just lined up in the streets with no shelter, no food, no water.
Foster will travel with the World Missions Alliance. He and the group will travel to Turkey, then cross the border into northern Iraq. And with ISIS gaining territory in Iraq and Syria, Foster says he will be within miles of the militant group. When
we cross the border, we'll be really close, especially with where they're at with Syria and close to the border of Turkey. We'll be very close. You know, I think there'll be times where I think we'll easily be within 20 miles.
The group is responsible for the executions of 2 American journalists and 2 British aid workers. But even in the face of danger, the father of one says someone needs to take a stand.
And I asked him if he was scared, and he said, yeah. And I said, I'm scared too, buddy, but I would rather you have a father that is obedient to God, even till death if that is necessary, than have a father who was a princess and stayed home and played it safe because he was scared.
The U.S. government has issued a travel advisory for Iraq, saying U.S. citizens in the region are at high risk for terrorist violence and kidnapping. Foster will travel to Iraq on November 3rd and stay there for 10 days. Reporting in Ithaca, Julia Manchester, Newswatch 16.
Thank you, Julia. Staying in Ithaca, Cornell is increasing its annual contribution to TCAT over the next few years. The university currently pays an annual total of nearly $3.5 million. By 2018, the university will be contributing $50,000 more annually. The TCAT fell into a deficit of $740,000, $500,000 of which was attributed to increases in ridership from Cornell students. Cornell previously declined the request to increase payments last May, but recently reversed the decision. Still on the East Hill, changes to the details of the RU zoning district are being looked into after a student-oriented apartment building proposal was withdrawn. This was not the first proposal in the Cornell Heights area to be withdrawn. Local opposition prompted the withdrawal of a separate application for a 3-building complex in August. Although the proposal fits the zoning, neighbors said it was too large and out of character. The city of Ithaca is working on zoning measures to control development in the Cornell Heights Historic District. City boards are expected to have an ordinance amending the RU zoning details drafted for Common Council consideration by early next year.
This summer's record-breaking number of visitors has the Tompkins County tourism rate and hotel industry flourishing. Newswatch 16's Sarah Kim has more.
Tourism tourism in Tompkins County has hit an all-time high this past summer, according to a new report from the Ithaca and Tompkins County Convention and Visitors Bureau. Director of the Ithaca and Tompkins County Convention and Visitors Bureau, Bruce Stoff, said although the tourism industry has seen a 5% growth nationwide, tourism in Tompkins County has grown by about 7%. He said the high demand from last year's cold winter and geography played a large role in bringing in visitors.
I think a lot of it is pent-up demand from a cold winter, and the other part is it's just a great location that people want to come and see.
In the latest study conducted by the Ithaca and Tompkins County Visitors Bureau, Stoff said the main attractions for visitors include Cornell University, the Gorges, and the dining options right here in downtown Ithaca. These attractions have allowed the hotel industry in the area to grow and expand. Dean and E.M. Statler Professor at Cornell University's School of Hotel Administration, Michael Johnson, said the hotel industry is not only growing in Tompkins County, but is also growing globally.
The global GDP is growing at about 2%, but travel and tourism, the hospitality industries, growing at about 4.5%, and we'll do that for a number of years.
Stoff said with a 3 to 5% yearly growth rate in the tourism of Tompkins County, the area can expect to see more hotels built in the future. Reporting in Ithaca, Sarah Kim, Newswatch 16.
The SPCA here in Tompkins County has raised more than $108,000 through their annual March for Animals event. The October 5th march had 312 registered attendants. Those who marched in the event were accompanied by many local friends, including dogs, cats, a ferret, and even a hedgehog. The proceeds raised from the march have exceeded the SPCA's original fundraising goal of $100,000, which will go to cover the cost of veterinary care for shelter animals throughout the year.
Governor Andrew Cuomo has 10 days to make a decision on bills dealing with issues such as CPR training and naming yogurt as the official state snack. More than 20 bills passed by state legislature earlier this year are on the governor's desk waiting for him to veto or sign into law. The CPR bill would require high schools across the state to include CPR training in their curriculum. In May, the state Senate was mocked by late-night comedians after it had a 50-minute debate dealing with the healthiness of yogurt and the definition of a snack. Cuomo has signed 400 bills this year and not vetoed any.
Today marks an important one for Ithaca Mayor Svante Myrick, who will now have a beer named after him. The Bandwagon Brewery has created a Pilsner called Svante's Legislative Session IPA. Bandwagon approached Myrick in June to ask his permission and discuss his favorite styles of beer. Following their meeting, head brewer Stephen Barefoot decided a Session IPA would be the right match. The beer is an India Pale Ale with a big hop aroma and flavor with a moderate bitterness and alcohol content. It was unveiled earlier this evening to the public at Brew Pub's monthly tasting event.
Still ahead on Newswatch 16, a Penn State student is in police custody after threatening to bring weapons to campus.
But first, let's head over for a glimpse of your weather with meteorologist Elisa Rafa. Elisa?
Guys, we had temperatures warm today. We were in the upper 70s with normal about 60. But guess what? We're going to have to pay with that warmth with some rain. We will see some rain tonight. I'll let you know how long it will last, all coming up next. But first, let's take a look at sports with Jenna Harner. Jenna?
Thanks, Alyssa. Coming up on Newswatch 16, we have all your East and South Hills soccer action, as well as a big Empire 8 field hockey matchup. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Doctors in Dallas, Texas are waiting to see if a blood transfusion may save the life of critical care nurse who is the first person to contract Ebola within the United States. Nina Pham received a blood donation from Ebola survivor Dr. Kent Bradley yesterday. Doctors hope that his blood may contain key antibodies to fight the disease. Pham was about one of 70 hospital staffers who cared for the now deceased Thomas Duncan. State and federal health officials remain unsure how Pham was infected, but they say it may be time to re-examine Ebola protocol.
With this ongoing international outbreak of Ebola, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg is donating $25 million to help fight this deadly disease. Zuckerberg made the announcement on his social media page this morning. The money will be going to the Centers for Disease Control Foundation in order to fund training and assist first responders with preventing the spread of Ebola. According to the World Health Organization, 70% of the nearly 9,000 people infected with Ebola have died.
A student at Penn State made a threat to kill everyone at the university campus over the weekend. Sophomore Jong Shim used social media site Yik Yak to anonymously make the threat. He said assault rifles would be brought to the student union building known as the Hub to kill everyone. Yik Yak helped police track the posting to Shim's off-campus apartment where no weapons were found. Penn State police said the student admitted to creating the post as a prank and has been arrested and charged.
3 Islamic State fighters are now dead after carrying out multiple suicide bombings in Kobani. In one attack, an Islamic State fighter detonated a truck laden with explosives near the Turkish border with Syria, where heavy clashes between Kurdish forces and Islamic State fighters have been prominent. 2 Kurdish fighters were wounded during the suicide attack. The Islamic State fighters tried to advance towards the border, but were stopped by Kurdish People's Protection units.
Members of ISIS are raising money by producing fuel at a string of small refineries in Syria and Iraq. The United States is retaliating by taking out refineries in ISIS control from the air. Locals who used to be involved with the refineries have mixed feelings about the situation. Saad, who is a petroleum engineer, built the refineries but fled when ISIS took over. He says that when the refineries were under the control of non-ISIS groups, they helped the population. Bombing the actual natural resources would have devastating consequences for the population and the environment in Syria and would leave ISIS with the valuable resource of crude oil.
After much speculation to the whereabouts of Kim Jong-un, North Korean state media has published the first photos of the leader in over a month. The Korean Central News Agency reported last week that Kim gave field guidance to a recently built residential district and visited the Natural Energy Institute of the State Academy of Science. U.S. National Security Council spokesman Patrick Ventrell said he could not confirm the authenticity of the KCNA report at this time. According to North Korean news, this is Kim's longest absence from official events since he made his first public appearance in 2010.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius met last night to discuss issues such as Ebola and the threat from the Islamic State. Meeting in Paris, Kerry and Fabius discussed ways that the two countries could work together in the coming years. During the 90-minute meeting, they also discussed the situation in Syria and Iraq. Kerry thanked Foreign Minister Fabius for France's military strikes against ISIS militants. Both men also agreed that a global effort is needed to contain Ebola.
Following a 2-week meeting of bishops, cardinals, and priests, the Catholic Church has shifted its stance on gays and divorcees. A new report released by the Vatican yesterday highlights the qualities gays have to offer the Christian community and urges the Church to be welcoming. While the report restates the Catholic Church's belief in traditional marriage, it signals a new acceptance of different sexual orientation. The Church also presented a new solution for divorced and remarried Catholics to receive communion if they go through a period of reflection and penance.
What do the skies hold for us here this week? Find out after the break with meteorologist Elisa Rafa.
We'll be right back. And welcome back. We're now joined at the desk with meteorologist Elisa Rafa. Elisa, I'm glad you're here because today I was a little confused. I thought it was the first day of spring with all this warm weather we're having in Ithaca.
Yeah, it was warm today. It was 15 degrees above normal today. We saw temperatures in the upper 70s today, and that it usually should be around 60. It is still warm right now. It is 68 degrees. It's breezy and it's warm and it's cloudy, and that's what's keeping all that heat in. But 68 is most of the time hard to get as a high temperature during the day, let alone a night temperature. So definitely warmer than usual. And although it feels like spring, it looks like fall. Look at all the colors on the leaves. This was sent to us from Alex Leslie. So do send us pictures of your colorful leaves as you see them, because we want to see them too. We take a look at what's going on right now. It is dry over Ithaca, but if I show you a bigger view of the radars, we can see that it's not going to be for that much longer. So here's a look at the line of storms from Michigan down through the Carolinas as they head towards us. Now, our temperatures today were warm. We had 75 in Ithaca, 74 in Lansing, cooler in Danby at 68, but that's still well above normal for this time of year. Now again, as I mentioned, these storms are approaching. We are seeing some cloud cover today, and if we look at tonight, you can see that we're on the front edge of that storm. That's why we have those warmest temperatures. The rain's coming through tonight, but I think we'll still stay cloudy. The best bet for that rain to come through, I'm thinking, is by tomorrow morning. So don't forget that umbrella as you're headed out with the kids tomorrow. You see that line of storms is starting to come through us. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., I wouldn't guarantee a very nice lunch. It's going to be rainy tomorrow and even into tomorrow night at 8 p.m. And this system just doesn't move. It just stays and lingers and takes its time. Because look, already Thursday morning, we're still seeing the back edge of it. We're still seeing some showers. And even into Thursday afternoon, we could still see a chance of showers as we see the back edge of it even into Thursday night. And then Friday, we're still not done, because by Friday we could still see some of the lake effect coming off the lake into Friday night and Friday afternoon. Now, what I want to show you on this is we're finally dry by Friday night. We see the chance of storms are gone. But check out this bullseye of a storm right down in the corner. That is not the system that moved through Ithaca. That, in fact, is our hurricane. So we are tracking Hurricane Gonzalo in the Caribbean right now. It already passed through St. Kitts and brought some winds and rains to Puerto Rico. It is a Category 3 storm. It's a major hurricane, the first one for the Atlantic. And I'm telling you about this because if fall break is coming up, if you have a vacation planned, an early holiday vacation, you may want to rethink that. As we head through the week, it is expected to strengthen to a Category 4, make this turn, and hit Bermuda, like a beeline for Bermuda, as a Category 3 Friday afternoon. So again, if you are flying out, you're taking a cruise, just take a second and make that phone call, because you may not want to be in the Caribbean this week. Back in Ithaca, again, we are warm and breezy and summery tonight, 65 degrees. And by tomorrow morning, those showers will start to move through. Still warm at 68 degrees, sun rising late. The afternoon, mild, 75 degrees. It's October tomorrow. So warm, but rain, heavy at times, thunderstorms possible. Don't be surprised if you hear thunder or see lightning. Looking at a 7-day, you can see we have a chance for storms all day, with Wednesday being the greatest chance. It's a sure thing it's going to rain tomorrow. But Thursday, it's still taking its time. It's lingering, less of a chance of storms. And Friday, we could still see some of those leftover sprinkles. As we head into the weekend, we could still see a spotty sprinkle here or there, and temperatures drop. We're not seeing 75. It won't be spring anymore, Mike. We're headed back to even below normal temperatures for fall. So it's a temperature roller coaster.
Wow, it sure looks like those rains are going to batter us. Thank you very much, Elisa.
And when we come back, we'll be joined at the desk for Newswatch Sports with Jenna Harner.
Stay with us.
Welcome back to Newswatch 16. I'm Jenna Harner with all your sports action. The Cornell men's football team traveled to Harvard this weekend in an Ivy League matchup. Both teams were held scoreless in the first half until Harvard proved to be too much for the Big Red. The Crimson scored 17 unanswered points before Cornell could find the end zone. Harvard had 20 first downs and 390 offensive yards on the day, compared to Cornell's 10 first downs and 175 offensive yards. The Crimson defense sacked Jake Jadis 4 times in the game. Harvard improves to 4-0 on the season, while Cornell sits at the bottom of Ivy League play at 0-4. Moving over to the South Hill, the Ithaca College men's soccer team added a 1-0 win to their record over Empire 8 rival Utica this past weekend. This was the Bombers' first win at Charles A. Gaetano Stadium since 2008. Sean Forward scored the lone goal for the Bombers off a penalty kick in the 27th minute. Ithaca recorded 18 shots on the day to Utica's 13. With this win, the Bombers improved to 3-1 in the conference and 3-6-2 overall on the season. The Blue and Whites sit in second place in the Empire 8 behind their only conference loss, Stephen Institute. In another Crimson and Big Red matchup, Harvard men's soccer defeated visiting Cornell 1-0. The game's only goal came just 2 minutes into the second half when Hiroki Kobayashi put the ball in the back of the net off a rebound by Christian Sadie. Harvard stays undefeated in Ivy League play as they move to 7-3 on the season. Cornell, while at 6-4-1, are still searching for their first Ivy League win. Cornell was only able to record 2 shots on goal in the shutout loss. The team's next matchup is currently underway at Colgate University. The Ithaca College women's soccer team continued their winning ways in an exciting matchup that took overtime to decide a winner. The Bombers won 2-0 against Empire 8 foe Nazareth. Kelsey King scored her 10th goal of the season in the second half, beating 2 Nazareth defenders and creating a one-on-one with Allison Dobles. The Bombers had the edge in shots on the day with 15 to Nazareth's 1. With this win, the Bombers take the top spot in the conference over Nazareth and Stevens Institute, who both have 4-1 conference records. King's 10th goal marked her second consecutive double-digit scoring season. The Cornell women's soccer team traveled to St. Bonaventure yesterday with hopes to snap their 2-game losing streak. In what looked to be a comeback effort, Carrie Schubert scored 2 unassisted goals in the second half for Cornell, but her effort would not be enough. The Bonnies defeated the Big Red by a score of 3-2. Cornell had the slight edge in shots on the day, 13 to St. Bonaventure's 10. 8 Cornell players recorded shots with 2 from Caroline Growney and 3 from Claire McManus. Kelsey Tierney and Dana Daniels split halves in the net for the Big Red. The next game is Saturday in an Ivy League matchup versus Yale. The 8-2 Cornell women's field hockey team hosted number 13 ranked Syracuse University in a non-conference matchup this past Sunday. The Orange proved to be too powerful for the Big Red as they dominated the game with a score of 5-0. This loss marks the second consecutive shutout loss for the Big Red. Syracuse's Jess Jecko and the defense limited the Big Red to 6 shots on goal. 2 of Syracuse's goals came straight off of penalty corners. Elizabeth Schaefer made 6 stops for Cornell on the day. The team returns to Ivy League play this Saturday at Harvard University. Back on the South Hill, the Ithaca College women's field hockey team seeked its 4th conference win of the season as they hosted the Pioneers of Utica. Would the Bombers be able to beat a team they haven't won against since 2010? To Higgins Stadium we go. We head now to Higgins to catch some second half action here. Ithaca Bombers, Utica Pioneers. Second half, it's a tie game at 2-2. Early now, Pioneers on a corner. She'll pass to the top of the ball, looking for the shot, but that gets a penalty, and it's going out in favor of the Bombers. Utica now with the ball, making their way down the field. Elena Sajowski gets the ball into the circle, beating Ithaca defenders left and right, trying to take this one all by herself, but she'll kick that ball, and again, a penalty. It'll be going out in favor of Ithaca. Ithaca now here with the chance to score. Michaela Donahue making down the field on the side. She'll shoot that, and that'll be kicked out of bounds. It'll be an Ithaca corner. They wouldn't be able to convert, but now the ball on Utica's end. Laurel Schneider will just pass that one out, and that'll be the way the game goes. Bombers will lose this one 3-2. 4 of the 5 goals in the game came in the first half. The Bombers struck in the first just 2:54 into the game off a penalty corner from Danielle Corio. All 3 of Corio's shots in the game were on goal. She now has 5 goals on the season. Hannah Mackey collected her 26th and 27th goal on the season for Utica. And in their second conference game of the weekend, the Bombers field hockey team hosted the Washington and Jefferson Presidents. Washington and Jefferson tallied both of their goals in a span of just under 10 minutes. The Bombers would battle back to score in the 61st minute, but would be unsuccessful in capturing the win on the day. The Bombers outshot the Presidents 15-6 with only 3 of their shots on goal in the game. Amanda Steffi recorded her 10th goal of the season for the Presidents. Ithaca gained 17 penalty corners in the matchup, but they were unable to convert on any. 6 Bombers took shots in the game, with Corio, Keegan Twombly, and Lynch recording 3. The team's next matchup is in Hoboken, New Jersey against Empire 8 opponent Stevens Institute this Saturday at 11.
Well, that's all we have for you tonight on Newswatch 16. We'll be back with your news from in and around Tompkins County next week.
For Noreyana Fernando, I'm Michael Schwartz. We thank you for joining us and choosing us as your local news source. Have a great night and a fantastic week.